Over the weekend, Governor Kate Brown announced an ambitious plan to flood Portland with police and sheriff's deputies to help stop the nightly violence. By Monday afternoon, it had pretty much fallen apart. Clackamas and Washington County sheriffs said no. The Washington County sheriff cited a lack of political support for public safety. The Clackamas County sheriff said the same offenders are arrested night after night only to be released by the court and not charged with a crime by the DA's office. Part of the issue begins on the street at the protest. Police often announce multiple times that an event has been declared a riot and order the crowd to move in a certain direction. If people just stand there and do not move, they can be arrested for interfering with police. That's one of the charges the district attorney has said he will not prosecute. Police union leader Darrell Turner said that is a huge mistake because it teaches those people there are no consequences.
Obviously, people think that they can do what they want and they can push it further every time. And so that encourages the violence, that encourages the damages of buildings, that encourages the assaults that are going on, that encourages the fires that are being started.
We asked the district attorney, Mike Schmidt, to respond to the allegations. His office sent us a statement signaling he is not going to change. It reads, "We continue to prioritize public safety resources in Multnomah County by focusing on violent crimes occurring at protests and in our community, including the recent and alarming increase in gun violence this summer." Speaking of that gun violence, there are significant problems away from those protests. The police union released the numbers for the shootings in August of this year versus August of last year. Last year, there were 41 confirmed shootings in the city of Portland. This last month, there were 109. So 109, big jump. Back to you.